Yo, yo, what's the deal? Back for another one. Your brothers is here. Welcome to the Who Asked Y'all To podcast. It's your boy, Chris Porter. My good brother, M.Dot on the other side over there. What's up with you, bro? Anything new?
Good. And nothing really new, man. Just taking it day by day, doing what I gotta do. Yeah, nothing really. I mean, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. We're gonna dive into that, but it's wild, man. People calling it the next World War III. Like, it's a lot of craziness happening. We got people, Will and Jada. So much can be said on them. We got Biden asking for another $100 billion to send to all these places, and using the foreign policy as a result to send all this money. We got the Republicans don't know how to elect the Speaker of the House. We got a lot of tumultuous things that's happening, but that's why we're here. That's why we're gonna educate the people, and we're gonna give our opinions because nobody asked them for them, right?
For
So,
sure.
if you want to start, bro, I mean, we can get into what you want to get into first. We got a bunch of things we want to cover, so just let me know what you want to dive into first.
Let me see. It's your call. You want to talk about the Biden stuff? You want to jump
Yeah.
into Biden's request?
Yeah, so let me talk about the Biden, about the $100 billion, because I know that's something that people want to know. So, Biden, Biden is asking Congress again for $100 billion. Now, you might say, "Oh, hey, $100 billion, that's not a lot." But guys, keep in perspective. We just given multiple $1 billion to Ukraine for this war against Russia. We've given, and he's asking for another $100 billion. But here's what that $100 billion is for. And this is from a New York Times article that was published last week. And Biden's request is, asking Congress for $100 billion in emergency funding. It's aimed to, and it's a multitude of things. It's aimed to assist Israel and with the conflict with Hamas. It's for Ukraine. It's for Taiwan, with that conflict with China. If China's going to get ready to move on Taiwan, and also about here's the other thing: increasing security across the United States border with Mexico. So, what was Trump's thing when he first came in office? I'm gonna build a wall, build a wall, build a wall. What did Biden do when he first came in office? I'm gonna stop building the wall. This country was made. My legs are hairy. You know how you get into the whole tangent of talking, and he don't know what the hell he's saying. So he's going back to trying to build the wall. What Trump originally wanted to do. Now this funding is going to be for a year. It's going to cover a full year, and it's intended to prevent partisan disputes that have limited previous efforts to supply Ukraine with weapons to counter potential Russian invasion. So the whole thing is that America, people in Congress, don't want Biden to continuously give money to Ukraine, because who pays for that? The taxpayers. We pay for that. If we're giving $60 billion here, $50 billion here, $90 billion here, that kind of affects us as citizens because that's coming out of our tax money. We're gonna have to pay. It's gonna have to come from somewhere. Whether it's paying more for goods, whether it's paying more for services, this money is gonna come from something. We don't know what it is yet, but it's gonna come from something. And with this whole Russia Ukraine thing, my stance has always been on it. Let the other European countries assist on that. But with United States foreign policy, which we kind of covered last week, with the whole Israel Hamas thing, it's like the foreign policy kind of dictates that we have to intercede in that and assist it because we have interest in Ukraine. Um,
Right.
Also, with this article, the funding package is expected to include roughly $10 billion in military assistance for Israel, approximately $60 billion for Ukraine, and the remaining funds would be dedicated to border security and strengthening the defenses in the Indo-Pacific region to counter threats from China. So Ukraine is getting the bulk of it.
Yeah, bulk of it's going to
Ukraine,
Ukraine. And they divvy it up between Israel and, like you said, Taiwan and
yeah.
into Pacific region. Border security over here, all over the
So
place.
Ukraine is already, if I'm not mistaken, we've given them more than 100, $200 billion. And it's just keep going up. Like, this guy Zelensky comes every other week to Congress asking for money. We need money. We need money. So we're giving them money, guys. We're giving them money, but it sounds like
I
it's
mean, I think
another.
ultimately Russia knows what they're doing too, though, because Russia knows about that we're ultimately financially invested in seeing Ukraine succeed. Russia knows that without our assistance, without assistance from the United States, that Ukraine would ultimately or perish, I should say, in this war with them. They wouldn't last too much longer in a war with them. So ultimately, it is putting a tab on the United States. I mean, and like we already covered, based on our foreign policy with our interest in Ukraine, that we're kind of obligated to these things, to at least supply some sort of assistance to them over there in Ukraine. And obviously, we don't wish bad on anybody. You know, it's unfortunate when you see people at war and losing their lives and things.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's an awkward position for I think for Biden and for Congress to even be in to even approve, or I mean, we're not even at the point of them approving that assistance right now, but to even weigh the option of continuous support to Ukraine. I think a lot of people are already over the whole thought process behind the United States back in Ukraine in this war. But like we've already covered, man, foreign policy is kind of dictating that we continuously find funding to support them. So it's crazy.
it's wild, bro. And to me, I'm so against it because as an American citizen, we live in this country, and I don't want my money going to assist these other countries when we have different things that we have ailments in this country that we need to tend to. Like we have a homeless situation that should be tended to. We got people living on the street. We got we can even talk about the population of people getting released from prison. They don't have adequate housing. They don't have adequate assistance. There's a lot of things that this money can assist on a totally different status when dealing with things home based instead of going internationally and helping Ukraine when it's kind of like it's a different continent. It's in Europe. I understand our policy, but and the whole propaganda is, and it's propaganda. The whole propaganda thing is, oh my God, if Russia gets Ukraine, it's over for Europe. It's going to be another Cold War. They're going to invest. They're going to go into Poland again and conquer them and blah blah. And I really don't believe that. I don't even think Putin wants to even do that. I think Putin just wants
I
to
think he does. I
reconquer
think he
what was
does.
formerly Russia. Yeah. I don't even think he wants to go into the whole invasion of Europe. I don't think he has the manpower to do that. Like that wouldn't even be something he would be able to do.
I
But
mean, I just
because
I understand the logic behind it though. I get the logic behind not even wanting to give him that much control, because I mean, once you open that door, the floodgates instantly open for the possibility of those things. So whether or not we feel like he may or he may not, because that's all speculative, the fact of the matter is that he is attempting to take over Ukraine right now. And so once that happens, if that is to happen, which obviously because of the force that Russia carries is it's not far fetched. Once that happens, that just makes Putin a more stronger world presence. It makes Russia a stronger world presence that now where you know the United States don't want to deal with that, man. You know they don't want to deal with that.
I mean, I don't even know if that's Putin's main focus right now. I think Putin's thing is, even with the BRICS alliance, even with him having ties with certain countries in Africa. Now, I think he's really trying to establish better global ties with different countries that America doesn't have ties with no longer. So he just met with, I think it was the leader of one of the countries in Africa. I think it was Burkina Faso. The guy is like 35 years old. Let me just double check. Let me double check that because I wanna get my facts right real quick. Hold on, let me double check that, bro. Because he literally just met. Who did he meet with? Yep. So they just had a summit in St. Petersburg. Russian President Vladimir Putin courted leaders from Africa at a summit on Friday, hailing the continent's growing role in global affairs and offering to expand political and business ties. So I really think that's Putin's goal. is meeting with countries that do not want to associate with Africa, or do not want to associate with America, England, or France at this moment. And Russia and China are the ones that are coming in and saying, "Hey, we got you. Those guys have treated you bad. Come here, I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna abuse you. I'm not gonna take your land, but I got you. Come on, just come. I got you." And I think he's doing that, and China's been doing that for a while. They've been infiltrating African countries, Caribbean countries, building infrastructure, making the country a lot better, but bringing their people in and saying, "Hey, our people are going to do these jobs, but we're going to make your country great, but we're not going to allow you to work it." And I hope I'm not getting off too tangent here, but I think that's Putin's main focus right now is just expanding global ties and global efforts to try to build up more allies with Russia, instead of, even though the focus is Ukraine, but I think his main focus is establishing little Russian allies all over the place. That's me. That's just me. That's this way I'm looking. That's just how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't think he cares about Europe like that. I don't think he's on no Hitler or Stalin or any type of like former dictator type of mentality. I don't think he's on that type of mindset. I think his goal, global ties, more allies with Russia, so that you're going to make the other Western powers sweat. Like, oh, China, Russia, and Iran, that's pretty scary. That's pretty crazy. Get India in there, that's a problem. So that's just me. That's just me. I mean, that's me.
I see it slightly different, obviously, but we'll table it for now. We'll table it for now. It's definitely still a wait and see thing in terms of the Russian Ukraine stuff right now. Especially with where things stand in the house. With the infight, and so we could probably talk about that a little bit.
That's a good segue. That's a good segue.
Yeah, with the House stuff going on right now, us still not having a Speaker of the House, them not being able to uh, come to an agreement on a Speaker of the House. Recently, Jim Jordan was nominated for Speaker of the House and up for Speaker of the House. He was not able to secure the votes needed to become Speaker of the House. I believe it's 217, being as though Republicans have the majority. Can't get anything done without a Speaker of the House.
No.
What are we supposed to get accomplished? Even the proposal that Biden made, that $100 billion proposal, without a House Speaker, nothing really gets pushed forward, and we're in a state of getting nothing done.
And just to piggyback on it, I think what the Republicans' problem is, and I heard this on a podcast 2 days ago, and I listened to the PBD podcast. Shout out to them. I think the Republicans' problem is the Democrats are better at everybody saying yes. Everybody saying yes, agree, cool. Like, you really never see a lot of Democrats kind of like going like this, unless it's coming up to like who's going to be the next nominee or something like that. Usually when it comes to like passing certain things, they're always in in line step. They're always when it comes to Republicans, you got the Republicans that are moderate, you got the Republicans that are extremely conservative, you got conservative Republicans, and they never come to a lock and step when it comes to these things. So I think that is the reason why the Republican Party is the way they are now, because there's no cohesion. The Democrats, you can have Democrats that are extremely left, liberal, progressive. They're all in lock and step. Yeah, let's pass this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Republicans, oh no. I don't think that's going to be good. I don't think that's why they can't. That's why nothing can ever go as what they plan, because they're all so different. They're all so different.
And I mean, I don't disagree with you in terms of Democrats typically being a little bit more like-minded, so typically walking in lockstep in terms of getting things accomplished or trying to get certain things passed. I don't think that in this situation, though, that it's productive the way Republicans have handled the situation. When you do have our foreign allies looking to us, when you do have certain bills that require us to have a speaker in place, and we can't get anything done. I mean, and listen, it's perfectly fine in terms of a difference of opinion or seeing things differently. But that's why these people have been put in position, is to run our federal government. And so
Right.
if you defer from this person over here, the point is to try to meet in the middle on a compromise that works best for all sides. I think that's where Democrats typically shine, is in being able to find a compromise that may work for bipartisanship, so where it's not just strictly a Democratic benefit, it'll benefit both sides of the aisle. Whereas Republicans, they want so much of it their specific way, and
Yeah.
because there's so many different style Republicans, like you said, there's ultra conservative, there's the extremist Republicans, there's like a moderate Republican that, just typical old school Republicans, but you know it's so many different people that's fighting for like specific things that they want accomplished or that they want to see done, or whether it be specific things that they don't agree with from the past, specifically like with election stuff from 2020 and stuff like that. um it just doesn't put us in a place of productivity when it comes to getting to the point of actually having a speaker in place for a prolonged period of time. Right
Right.
now, it's nothing. Like I mentioned, it's just nothing that can get resolved right now. It's nothing that can even get accomplished with all of this infighting and the lack of ability to compromise.
No, I agree with you. The infighting is gonna be the demise of the Republican Party, and if they don't get it together, man, you can even see now with the nominations and who's running and all this other stuff. It's not gonna look good for them, man. I mean, whoever becomes
It's
the
scary.
president the president elect, man, like I mean the presidential nominee is who knows? I mean, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
As a registered Republican, though, do you have, because it's a certain amount of time that they have at this point. I believe it's mid-November at this point to get a speaker in position before we're looking at another government shutdown. Like, with it being so much influx, do you have confidence that they'll be able to get this done, man?
Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I do have a guy in mind. For Speaker of the House if they ever put him up, and it's a black guy out of Florida, Donald Press. No,
Hmm.
Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds. I follow him on Instagram.
Hmm.
Very articulate brother. Very informative. Definitely wants what's best for the Republican Party, and I think it's him as the Speaker of the House. You know, I think I've seen him in a lot of congressional hearings, and he speaks very well, and he knows a lot and he's not stupid. And I think he's very stern in a lot of situations, and
Hmm.
he's very good at knowing policy. And I think he will be, in my opinion, I think he would be the best candidate for that. But because of who he is and how he articulates, and a brother like 6'5", 6'6", big dude. So for me, I'm like, yo, this guy,
He ain't chump.
nah, no, not at all. So for me, I'm like, yo, they need to have somebody like that in that position because he's not
For
going to back
sure.
down.
I agree.
Yeah, he's not going to back down. But will they put him as Speaker of the House? I'm not sure. I don't know. But for me, if I had a dog in this fight, I would put him as Speaker of the House.
I'm not
I want him.
familiar with the name, but I'll
Yeah,
definitely.
check
What was
him
his
out. Check him
name?
out, bro. Byron Donalds.
Byron Donalds.
We got
Okay.
Congressman Byron Donalds out of Florida. Just whenever you get a time, look him up, bro. Articulate, cool head, calm, assertive.
Right.
Check every box in my book. Check every box. Every
Dope.
box.
Dope.
Every box.
All right. Cool. Well, listen. At some point, I'm sure that we'll get to the point where we have a Speaker of the House. It's they're not going to shut the government down for the foreseeable future. So yeah, they'll get it figured out, man. I got faith in my Republican brothers over there on the other side of the aisle that y'all get that done. So,
I hope so, man. I hope so.
but where we want to take it next? Where we want to go?
Okay, so let's go into a more of a less serious topic, more on the culture side. I don't even
Okay.
know if you call them culture, but we're gonna pivot. We're gonna talk about Will and Jada, right? So as everybody knows, Jada has been promoting her book that just dropped last week, I believe, called Worthy.
I
And
believe
her
it was
book is
October
pretty much
17th. Go check that out.
no, don't go check it out. Go check it out. It's garbage. But no, I mean, if you're a Jada Pinkett fan or Jada Pinkett fan, yeah, go check it out. But it's called Worthy. Like Chris said, it dropped October 17th, right?
Yeah, October
So,
17th.
so she's been going on like a marketing, like going interviewing, promoting her book, like a promotion tour, and
Mm-hmm.
she's getting interviewed and by big television news people, and she's talking about her book and the stuff she's saying out of her book. Like one of the things she said was like, oh, she Will couldn't make her happy. That was one of the things she said. Will could not make her happy, so she had to stop relying on him to make her happy. She had to focus in herself to make her happy. That was one thing that I was just like, yeah, this is wild. Another thing she said, the loving relationship she had with Tupac. That man died 1990 something, over 25 years ago.
I believe it was 96.
96, so damn near almost 30 years ago. And she talks about him like it happened yesterday, like he was on this earth yesterday. The man let him go. It's crazy because people don't understand. If we just flipped it, and if it was just a man talking about a woman this way, he would be taken through the ringer.
But you gotta specify a man in a relationship that has a woman.
In a relationship that had woman and multiple other women.
Yeah.
He was with Quincy Jones's daughter, Khadijah Jones. So it just goes like.
Now I'm talking about as the person talking about it, as the person like at Jada, as the person talking about it. You talking about Tupac. You're talking about your affinity for Tupac as if you don't have a husband whose last name that you carry around on your the title of your book. It don't say Jada Pinkett. It say Jada Pinkett-Smith.
And I really think the book to me, like, and another thing she said that really struck me was, when it happened, when Will smacked Chris Rock, she was so like, oh my God, what's going on? He said, keep my wife's name out your mouth. He hasn't called me that in 7 years. Bro, like, Cap, can we flag on the play? Like, what's going on? Because to me, if you say y'all haven't been together for 7 years, where is the clarification in that? The whole time y'all been talking, the red table talk, where was the clarification? Why wasn't that said a long time ago? Is it because you want to protect your so-called fake image? Is it because you want to portray something you're not? Be honest. But now you want to be honest. Now you want to say 7 years. We haven't called each other this, that, and the third. You had an entanglement with August Alsina. You belittled your husband on national television. And then he goes and smacks another man because of that. And you make it seem like it was something that he should have needed done. Yeah. It's like, I don't even mean to say be so vulgar, but it's like when Will got married to her, she said, give me your penis, give me your balls. They mine now.
Bro.
Like, bro, it's wild. I'm gonna let you get some on this. I'm gonna let you get some. It's just wild to me. I'll say this one last thing on it. Say this one last thing. I think the image, the sanctity of marriage, as regular people, we need to not look towards celebrities for influence as to that, because their relationships are atrocious and disgusting. To me, as a married man, their relationship I would never look upon and tell my son or my daughter to look at them as influence. They are disgusting. They are atrocious. They should not be looked at toward that. Movie-wise, getting into entertainment business, yes, I would look towards you if I wanted to get my son into that or get my daughter into that. But marriage-wise, finding a spouse or somebody special, you will never get any credence from me as to you guys are doing the best at it. You are the worst when it comes to that. Go ahead, brother. I'll give it to you.
I know you was, especially as a married man, you feeling some type of way about that over there.
Oh my God. But I'll let you cook. I'm gonna let you cook, bro.
No. Yo, it's crazy because like my thing is yo, who asked all this shit? Like, who, yo, where did this
Nobody.
come from, dog?
Nobody.
Like, yo, and then my other, like, cause that's numero uno for the kid is numero uno is who asked you all this shit? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
nobody asked you about your feelings about Tupac. Nobody asked you about what goes on in the bedroom of your like what goes on in your bedroom with your relationship. Nobody asked you about even the status of your relationship because you don't have no problem clearly based on the whole Oscar slap shit. Excuse me for cursing and all that, but clearly you don't have a problem going to events as Mrs. Smith. You still
Yep.
showing up to events and
Yep.
appearing as Mrs. Smith, but for some reason you felt the need to tell us. It's almost as if you put yourself in this hole and now you don't know how to dig yourself out of it, so you keep just sharing more stuff, thinking that it's making it better, and it's like, fam, yo, we looking at you like you are insane. We look, and then we trying to figure out, we try to figure out why Will still ain't get out the Get Out movie yet? Like why is he trapped in this Get Out in this terrible remake of Get Out, and he just can't get out? Like it's like, fam, my Philadelphia brethren went all the
Yo.
way down to Baltimore to support her at her book event and made it clear that he's not going nowhere. He's supporting her through thick and thin. And listen, with the like on a serious note, as a man, is part of me listen, part of me definitely respects it from his standpoint, because like at the end of the day, you committed yourself to this woman, man, and no matter what decision she goes out there as it makes, you made a choice to be with this woman, so you gonna stand by her. And so she making y'all look crazy, you made the choice to stand by her. I respect him. I respect him because that's his situation, and he's chosen to stand by that. I just ultimately, like, when it's a clear lack of respect on the other end, though, when it's like, she don't respect you as a man, she don't respect you as the provider, as the protector of the household, she don't respect you as, the head of the table or the head of the family, she don't have that respect for you, then I mean, like you said, that's not a relationship that I would tell somebody else to go and emulate. That's not a relationship that I would tell somebody else to go to try and take something from to apply to their own situation, man. And I I've never been one of them people who's looked at a celebrity relationship and thought that that's what's to aspire to outside of strictly just maybe a business type of decision. But when it
Yeah.
comes down to the actual the actual love and commitment of it all, man, like you hear these stories about these people, man. We and granted, everything, a lot of stuff is rumors, a lot of stuff is speculative, so you can't really validate any of it. But like, man, they've been married for almost 20 years now, bro. Like,
Yeah.
am I mathing right? Almost 20,
Like
30
over 20.
years. Yeah,
Like
over
over
20
20.
years, almost 30 years, as a matter of fact. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like for you to say those vows before God, make that commitment before God, and then like have your relationship. I mean, and granted, I know people might be watching this and being like, "Yo, you're not the guy who should be talking on how to," like
Right,
I,
right, right, right.
but like, to go out there and make your relationship like to put your relationship on Front Street so much, but then in such a disparaging way, in a way where your spouse then has to go out there and either s- choose to stand by your tomfoolery or have to expound on it when he wasn't the person to speak on it in the first place, is not fair to put anybody in a position to be in. Forget whether you the man in a relationship, you the woman in a like, forget all of that. It's just the simple fact that that's not what you should never put your partner through that. And as much as I respect his decisions, I feel for Bull. Like I feel for him, man. Like I feel for dude. Like I I appreciate some of the women that I've dealt with because they haven't made me feel so emasculated like that. Because I would, as a man, I don't even know how I would feel, how I would handle being in a relationship with somebody who belittles me as a man.
You know what? And let me say this, right? And we don't know if Will Smith did dirt. We don't know none of that. What Will did. He probably did some. We don't know. We can't even assume because there's nothing we can assume upon
Yo, I
because
think we can assume.
he can't. He's coming out here saying X, Y, and Z. Everything I've heard from when he talks about Jada, he puts her up close by God. He says all these beautiful things about her, untouchable. Like she's like the best. This and the third. And I'm a Jada fan. I loved her early work. I watched her. A Low Down Dirty Shame, Set It Off, all these movies, right? But if you can you name the last Jada Pinkett-Smith movie you've seen?
Girls Trip.
Girls Trip, right? That was in 2016. That was almost 10 years ago.
Was it?
2017, 2018, like around that? Like not
Yeah, it was pre-pandemic
so
for
been a
sure.
while, right?
Pre-pandemic, yeah.
Yeah, but you can name the last Will Smith movie. It was relevant, recent, right?
Yeah. He was in Emancipation. He did Emancipation.
Emancipation came out like a year ago, 2 years ago, right? So
Bad Boys 3,
everybody knows Will
a
Smith.
couple of different joints.
Yeah.
Will active out here.
Will is active, 55 years old, doing what he got to do, blah blah blah. Making them, you can say clear as day who makes the most money in a relationship is Will Smith. That's
For
clear
sure.
as day, right?
For sure.
Now,
I think
look
anyway.
at Will. Yeah, my perception of Will has changed. I've loved Will since Fresh Prince. We grew up with him, like grew up with it, man. He's from West Philly. You know about him, right? So to me, I just look at him so different. I can call him like he like a cup to me now. Like, bro, I don't know.
What you want that man to do? What you want him to do?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I want him to do, bro? I want him to sit his wife down and tell her to be quiet. Like, stop talking. Like, I understand you wrote this memoir, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would be okay with the situation if Will wrote a book and he put all his sexual escapades in there. Then I would say, Jada, good job. You got his butt. That's what he gets.
Yeah.
But for him, he just wrote a book 2-3 years ago, had nothing in there about that. Talk more about how he loved Jada, more about where he came from, more about how his life turned out. What is her book about? A 30-year-old dead man that she's still in love with and didn't even have sex with the man, but is so caught up and turned on by him. You can say Tupac's name, she get hot in the back of her alopecia head. Like, it's crazy.
They gonna say you alopecia shaming.
Oh, bro, like, it's wild to me, man. And it's just, like, I don't know
Nah, it's wild. It's wild.
who sees this as a good thing. I don't. I really don't. And I like Jada. Like, I always liked her movies. And I'm just, like, now I'm just turned off. But, like, anytime I see ugh.
Literally, she gotta take the title of our podcast and apply it to her life.
Yeah.
It's like, who asked y'all to, man? Like, cause like you said, he ain't talking.
And I'll be very upset if that joint becomes a national bestseller. I'm gonna be like, y'all people, whoever buys that book, granted, if you like reading, okay, cool. But Jada Pinkett-Smith memoir, like about stuff she talks about all the time on Red Table Talk. What about Tupac? Oh, Tupac. He was just something that life granted me, and I took him for granted. Like, you ever hear her talk about him in such a high reverence?
I don't even entertain it no more. I can't digest that type of content.
Talk about Will. We made a choice. He always snicker. We made a choice that I wouldn't get divorced. We not getting a divorce. And Will just made it clear. And I'm just like, I'm done with that, man. Let's move on to the next thing. I'm done with that, man.
Hey, much love to my Philly brethren, Will Smith, man. Hold your head, bro. Much love to you, OG, man. Hopefully everything works out. We're going to send our prayers and well wishes to y'all. Keep all that low, though. Keep all that low moving forward, man.
Oh, please. Lord.
All right. What we got next? Let me see. Go ahead.
We could talk about the Lebanese, the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon got hit with Molotov cocktails
Really?
And
I
how
didn't
that
see that.
yeah, that happened last week. Was it happened a couple days ago actually? Because today's what the 20th. Yeah, it
Today's
happened a couple days ago. It happened
21st.
the 18th.
Yeah, I did see
Yeah, so
that
it
there
happened
was
about 3 days
a
ago.
hospital in Gaza that got that there was an attack near a hospital in Gaza. I'm not sure if that's the same thing, if we're referring to the same thing or not.
No. This is in another country. This happened in Lebanon because of what's going on in the Gaza Strip. This is the
Yeah.
result of that. But a lot of the people, a lot of the Lebanese citizens are clashing with the soldiers that are protecting the U.S. embassy, and it's causing an issue. But I'll just go through a couple things that I highlighted when I was reading the article. And this is an article from News Nation.
Hmm.
Um, so pretty much, demonstrators in Lebanon clashed with security forces outside the U.S. embassy in Beirut, throwing
Oh yeah, I did
stones
see
and
this. I did see this.
setting a building on fire. The protests continued for at least 2 days. Hezbollah's Day of Rage. The protest was triggered by Hezbollah's call of a day of rage. And now, get it together now. Hamas is the terrorist organization in the Gaza. Hezbollah is the terrorist organization in Iran and Lebanon.
Right.
So this is aiming from another terrorist organization that has similar Islamic ties, saying enough is enough. We need to do something about that. So Hezbollah, in response to what has been claimed was the Israeli attack, and this is what you just talked about on the Gaza hospital, about the
Hmm.
hospital, Israel denied responsibility for the attack, attributing to a rocket misfired by Palestinian militants. Now, Israel
Right.
can say all that, but nobody really knows the truth. The
Yeah, that's
U.S.
the problem.
And another thing, the U.S. denial and outrage. The U.S. government, including the White House, denied responsibility for Gaza hospital attack. The incident, which the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry reported as at least killing 500 people, stirred outrage in the Middle East. Hundreds of protesters, some waving Palestinian flags, gathered near the U.S. embassy in Beirut. Demonstrators breached security barriers, and riot police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds. A building belonging to Lebanese authorities was set on fire. Pretty much, the U.S. kind of set a travel ban, level 4, which is like the second highest. The level 5 is the highest, so it's like a do not travel, like don't come
Right.
due to
Don't go to
terrorism,
Lebanon. Right.
unrest, and armed conflict. And pretty much they urged U.S. citizens not to travel to Lebanon and recommended that those already there should leave. There's a history of attacks against Americans in Lebanon, including an attack on the U.S. embassy in Beirut in the past. So, how do you feel about that? What do you think? You think this is something that's going to be recurring with embassies
Yeah.
across the Middle?
Yeah. I mean, as far as embassies, it's tough to say. But specifically with this Israeli Palestine Hamas conflict, and specifically when it comes to um instances like or attacks in places like the Gaza Strip where it's not really definitive where the attack came from, so both entities
Right.
can kind of deny any sort of active participation or active role in what took place, then you're going to see a lot of this because ultimately you are going to see people of the same faith supporting their brothers in faith. And so if you share a faith
Mm-hmm.
with the people in Palestine and you see that they are going through this, or the people in Gaza and you see that they're going through this, and you don't really know who to hold accountable at this point, you're not sure, like you said, you got the US and Israel all saying one thing over here, but then you have Hamas saying another thing, because Hamas is basically speaking for the people of Palestine as their government, who runs their government, saying another thing over here. Then you just leave an entire group of people to fend for themselves. Basically, you leave an entire group of people to fend for themselves and kind of figure out who to aim their aggression towards every single time. And so, it's tough. This like because you know there was a bit of good news in terms of the 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 two U.S. Hostages that got released back over to Israel. So there have been some sort of like, I guess, quote unquote improvements, but then you just see that like with this constant like chaos that it's not really a end in sight type of thing. You know, it's
Right.
like I don't see where the ending comes from, and I do think that this is going to be a recurrent thing. As far as specifically embassies, I think they're going to attack places where they know that they'll be able to get some traction. People are going to show up to places where they'll be able to get some traction and get some stuff moved and done. But overall, I definitely think that the people are frustrated, and so they're going to keep expressing that frustration. I mean,
No, I agree with you. I love what you said about people that are in faith are gonna align with the individuals that are the ones being tormented or are the ones that are having conflict happen to them, and they're gonna be line in step with them. And I think with the hospital strike, they of course they're gonna deny it. They're not gonna they're not gonna say, oh yeah, that's my bad on mine. They're never gonna do that. Like if the U.S. government or the authorities were like being honest and said like, oh yeah, that was us. We did that. Kind of, they're never gonna do that because. And I'm not saying they're at fault. I'm not saying I don't believe what they reported. I'm just saying when you're in war, it's better to promote propaganda than promote the truth, right? It's better to go with a lie than the actual truth because a lie is going to get you farther than the truth. If the truth is Israel did it, cool, then Hamas has a reason to hit a lot harder. But if the propaganda is, well, it was Hamas that misfired a rocket, then what are people going to assume? Oh, Hamas don't know what they're doing. They're not going to be able to fight Israel full force. They're misfiring rocket. The propaganda is going to spread a lot farther than the truth. It's going to get a lot more heads rolling, and that's what I hate about this type of news and this war that's going on because you really don't know unless you're there what's really happening. You really don't know because you don't know what's being fed to you. You don't know what you're ingesting when you're looking at the news. And I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just saying you don't really know unless you read every news article or you read news articles from different media websites like Al Jazeera, like if you read it from News Nation or Fox. You have to read from everywhere to see what are they saying, what's happening right now. That's why it's very hard unless you know people that are living there. You really don't know the true story. You really don't know the full story.
yeah, I mean it's tough to hone in on anything like you said when it's so many different outlets reporting so much different things or so many different things.
Oh, what stuff.
It's number one, it's hard to keep track of, and then number two,
Yeah,
like you said, it's definitely hard to figure out the actual truth of the matter or the actual root of the matter in these situations. And so, it's unfortunate for everybody involved. We always send our prayers and best wishes to everybody, but
yeah,
you know, we're not in the inside of it. Like we're not in the thick of it. So, we're not going to be privileged to that information. We're not going to get privileged to specifically getting the actual answers that people really want. And so, you know, hopefully at some point, like we've expressed in the past, that all these entities can find peaceful resolutions to these things. That being said, like I said though, I don't see where peace is coming from. It just seems like we're in a chaotic time right now, and it's going to continue to get chaotic or get even more chaotic as just time goes on. But
yeah.
we'll
And
see,
it's
man.
and we Chris and I, we're trying to educate ourselves so we can become a little bit more knowledgeable in the situation. We don't know. I mean, I know it from a religion aspect and a Christian aspect. That's a holy land. That's where all the three major religions kind of converge on
Yeah.
one another. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those are where
Islam.
the three religions converge on one another. That's where the Holy Land for all three religions is. So it's a very powerful place. I know that for a fact. Um, but I mean, I don't like I don't we don't know. I can't foresee the future. I don't know. I mean, if I'm speaking from a religious aspect, this is like biblical prophecy for me in Revelations. When they talk about unrest in the Middle East, it's always a biblical prophecy that kind of comes with that. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know on that.
Again, prayers and best wishes to everybody involved, man. Pray for peace for everybody, and Obviously, any updates that we have, we'll definitely provide to you guys as they come. Um, you know, but yeah, best, but prayers and best wishes. That's all you can really chop it down to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, let's get on to this last one. I think we got one more here. It's a little bit of a good one. Um, regarding the current ongoing RICO charge in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, with the state election, or excuse me, with the election case, the election interference case down in Georgia. Um, two of the people charged in that case, which is like I mentioned, it's a RICO case currently involving, I believe it's about 19 or 20 co-defendants. Uh, the headliner there being the former president Donald Trump. But two of the biggest of those co-defendants, being Sidney Powell and Kenneth Cheseboro, recently accepted plea agreements to plead guilty in that case. Excuse me, Miss Powell pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanor charges, whereas Cheseboro actually pleaded guilty to a felony charge related to the RICO conspiracy in Georgia. So they both have accepted responsibility and agreed to cooperate in the case at this point. What's your thoughts?
I think anybody can plead guilty to something. Don't mean they're guilty. A lot of people plead guilty all the time. I mean, what are you talking about? Like people plead guilty all the time. When you pay a ticket and you probably wasn't speeding, but you paid a ticket, you pled guilty to speeding, even though you probably wasn't speeding. You didn't fight it. So I think, and that's just me being who I am. I think that the case, because a lot of times when you're talking about court cases of this stature, they I mean the plea deal was probably something that was going to be a better result than taking it to trial, because when you take it to trial, you taking a big risk. Taking a big risk. If it's a jury trial, you're taking a big risk because the jury
Especially with a RICO charge.
with a RICO charge, and not even that, bro. It depends on where you're at in that state. Where are they gonna do the court case? Georgia is a democratic state. Where are you gonna do it at? That's a whole other thing. The judge what is the judge on this issue? If the judge may be biased toward it, you don't know. So if everything is looking at a loss, you cut your ties. You say, hey, I'm gonna just take the plea. What am I pleading to? Okay, misdemeanor's cool. A felony? Okay, cool. Am I facing any prison time? No, you're just gonna get a felony. They haven't given them a sentence yet. They've taken pleas. So we'll see how they look for. I want to see how it's gonna look when they get sentenced. What that's actually gonna look like. But I think that probably was the best opportunity for them to take plea deals, because a lot of things can go wrong when you take it to court. You take it to trial. A lot of stuff can happen doesn't go in your favor. That's how I look at it.
I agree. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see a lot more. Obviously, a lot more is going to play out between now and when this thing resolves. To your point, though, I am curious about sentencing. Because being as though they pled guilty, I would expect, and I think the expectation as of right now is that there will be no jail time for either.
Yeah,
Um, and being as though they pled guilty, but they're most likely neither are going to face um any jail time. I'm pretty sure that they're both just going to be on probation. I think he's looking at maybe like 5 years, and similar for her, looking at about 5 years probation. Um, you don't get something without nothing. You don't get something for nothing. So, with that being said, with them accepting a plea agreement to these lesser charges, or pleading to certain charges, and agreeing to cooperate, I'm just curious what that means for the other co-defendants involved in the case at this point, especially with the role that these two individuals play. If the role that they played is
yeah,
as it's been represented in the media, I should say, then they potentially have a lot of information, which could
yeah,
ultimately result in other more notable people ultimately being convicted in this case. And so I am curious to see how this plays out, because um everybody has assumed innocent until proven guilty. But when you have people who are willing to testify to the fact that there was a crime committed in this case, then it kind of it takes out the room for, like, I don't know, kind of what, not even what ifs, because it still is what ifs. You still ultimately have to let everything play out in court, obviously, and so it's going to take us. The case is going to take the natural course that the case takes, but I like I said, naturally, when two individuals who are reported to have had a wealth of knowledge pertaining specifically to the allegations that are being made have agreed at this point to testify, I do think that the other individuals in the case should definitely start to consider their options as well. Like, at this point, they got to start looking at their options too to figure out what's their best course of action, because nobody wants to go to jail at the end of the day.
No,
Nobody wants to go to jail.
I mean, it's elected officials, man. How often do they go to prison anyway? Like that's very rare for them to go to prison. So even
It's
if
unprecedented. It's unprecedented for sure.
it's something, if all of them get found guilty, Trump gets found guilty. How long do you think Trump's going to do in prison? How long do you think they're going to have him in prison? Let's be honest. Even if they put him in prison, the most probably 6 months. They put him in prison for 6 months. They not. This is really a Salem witch hunt on this man. Now, if they have concrete evidence, if they're able to convict him. I have no issue with that. I can say, like, I was wrong. He convicted him. He's a bad guy. He should go to prison. Cool. That's done. But if it's something of hearsay or something of just eyewitness testimony, eyewitness testimony can be faulty as well. That's not 100% guarantee. The only thing that's 100% guaranteed is DNA. Somebody saying that they heard this or heard that can be faulty. That's not 100% correct.
For sure. I mean, you're 100% right on that. Unfortunately, with these RICO cases, man, that's all it really takes is somebody to substantiate that there was a criminal enterprise there, So that's the thing with RICO, man, is all you got to do is prove that there was a criminal enterprise, And so, unfortunately, like I said, with people willing to attest to that, I know for me personally, it would shake me in my boots if I was in those shoes, it would, and I can't even really if I can't even really substantiate the Salem witch hunt thing that you just mentioned, because if they're willing to at least corroborate their part in what took place, then it's valid. It's valid, at least to be looked into. If nothing else, just to be looked into, to investigate.
No, look into it. But what did I just tell you though? When taking guilty pleas though, you could have took a guilty plea just to say I'll take it, but it don't mean 100% that you did what you did. You could know something, but it don't mean you would have been guilty of it. That's the thing. The law is very very gray sometimes. So that's why it's up to, when you go in front of a judge. Judge had to determine, all right, did you really do X, Y, and Z? Did this really happen? But like you said, we'll see what happens. We'll definitely keep update on that and see what happens with that. I really am curious to see how far this actually goes, and if Trump does get indicted, well, not indicted, but found guilty or
convicted,
found convicted, then that's a big shakeup on the Republican ticket. Because then if that happens, is it something that he could bounce back from, or is he just completely out of the race? That's a whole other conversation.
Man, we gotta get the trial before we can even figure that out. And I don't know if we're getting a trial anytime soon.
No, probably not.
So, but like you said, we'll see how it goes. I'll definitely be keeping my ears to it, my eyes to it. Because it definitely, like you said, it definitely, if it were to play out prior to the election, it definitely shakes things up. And it definitely may stain what was already a stained presidential period for Donald Trump, because I know he's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he's probably the most polarizing president of our our lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, if ultimately that run ends in a criminal conviction, for as much as his supporters and for as much as the people who vow to him, who have his back, I think even after a criminal conviction, then it just becomes a little bit harder to like necessarily like support everything in hindsight
Yeah.
after you've seen so much or after so much is going down. It's gonna make it hard, but
It's gonna
we'll
be
see.
it's gonna be kicking the heart a lot, especially for the super supporters. Like my cousin, he's a big like Trump supporter. It'll be a kick in the heart if it comes to that. And it's like even if you get convicted, you have appeal processes that if something didn't go right, you can always appeal it. And if
Yeah,
it comes overturned, there's a lot of things that can happen after that as well. But it'll be a kick in the heart. It'll be tough. It'll be a huge pill to swallow, especially for the Republican Party. Like that's a stain that'll be on them for a long time. For a long time, like it's not going to go away. Similar to the Nixon to the Watergate scandal,
yeah,
same thing. Just like with the Democrats with Bill Clinton talking about he never had sex
yeah.
with Monica Lewinsky, he had sex with all these other women in his office. So it'll be a pretty. It's those type of things you don't forget in history. Once it's in history, you don't really forget it.
Nah, you're right, man. You're right. You're definitely right. Like we said though, it's definitely worth waiting to see. So we will wait and see. It's a lot to still happen between now and then. So we'll just keep our eyes peeled for it. Um, any final thoughts? Anything that we need to get to? Any other topics that you had that you wanted to run through?
Nah, that was it, bro. I don't really. I had those three. We covered them. The one I hated was Will and Jada. I think we covered that. Um, I'm good. I'm good, brother. I'm good. I don't really have nothing.
We didn't even really go in on Will and Jada as much as we probably
I
could have.
know. I
This
know.
was real. We
I
we
wanted to
kept it
keep it
real PG
clean.
for the people.
I wanted to keep it clean. Bro, if I really wanted to go in like how we did on the group chat, bro, it'd have been a wrap.
Yeah. It would have been
Talking
ugly.
is done. Done. But we gotta keep it clean for our fans, man. We try to
We don't want to get canceled that quick, man.
we
They
don't
they
want to
they
get
got some
canceled, but
rabid fans on their
yeah,
side.
yeah. Bro, I'm telling you, Will and Jada, oh they man, like, oh my goodness gracious. Brother. Goodness gracious. Oh, did you want to talk about the sports at all, or you kind of want to just wait until next week? You want to cover
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. We'll jump on the sports next week. The Eagles lost last week, so ain't much to talk about anyway.
You
You know
know
what I
what I'm
mean?
talking about? You see what I'm talking?
we we we'll see what happens
You
on
know what I'm
Sunday.
talking
Hey,
about?
we'll
When the
see what happens
Cowboys
on.
lose,
Yo,
it, it's the
listen,
whole.
man.
It's World War III. When the Eagles lose, don't worry about it. It's all right. You know what? And I'm gonna reserve. I'm gonna reserve
Ah.
my opinion for next week because the Cowboys are on a bye right now because we earned that because we beat the Chargers. So we earned our bye. Y'all didn't earn anything. And y'all facing Miami. So good
Kelly
luck.
Green this week, baby.
Good
Kelly
luck.
Green this week, baby. And shout out to the Phillies. I'm watching the Phillies game as we
Yeah,
speak
shout out to
right
Philly.
now.
Shout out to
Phillies is
Philly.
up 6-1
Yeah,
in
shout
the
out to
ninth inning of game 5 of the NLCS as we
shout out to
record this
them.
episode right now. So shout out to the Fighting Phils.
The
Keep
one
up
Philly
the
team I
great
like.
work.
That's the one Philly team I like.
Keep up the great work, fellas.
And the Flyers. I don't like the Eagles so much.
Hey, listen, man. I bleed green. I bleed red. I bleed blue. I'm with all it. I bleed orange. Hey, listen, you cut me. A couple colors is coming out. But shout out to the Phillies, man. Keep up the great work. Shout out to y'all for tuning in to another
Absolutely.
episode of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram. We appreciate all the support as usual. And y'all keep staying locked in with us, man.
Peace and love to y'all, man.
Peace. We out.